This is the Cubs POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Chicago Cubs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Cubs POSTCAST on the Locked On Cubs YouTube and audio channels. The Cubs win 8-4 over the Reds. They win their final series before the All-Star break. Coming at the worst time for Alex Bregman, but signs of life have definitely arrived for Alex Bregman. We'll talk about that. We'll talk from Matthew Boyd. The rest of the lineup on today's show and today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The biggest stage in world soccer is here. Let there be goals on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com right now to get started. We'll start today's show off with our Locked On Player of the Game.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
It's Alex Bregman. Alex Bregman is the locked-on player of the game in this one. 4 RBI day for him. Back-to-back days with a clutch home run. He goes 3 for 5 in this game with 4 RBIs. Scored twice himself. As I said there at the very beginning, worst time ever for the All-Star break for Alex Bregman. Good for Jacob Webb, good for the pitching staff as it tries to get healthier, and some of these bullpen guys have been used to death, it feels like at this point. But Alex Bregman finally putting together good swings. It really did start there in the Baltimore series where you could just see there was a little more oomph on it. And even yesterday, the home run doesn't fly out of the ballpark, and today it's 387, so it's not these towering drives. That's not really ever been Bregman's game. But this is just such a encouraging sign to see that him, if he can get any level of pop going. And look, sometimes baseball, it's about luck, and it's how it starts in this game today for Alex Bregman. You've got Pete Crow-Armstrong starting the game off in the top of the first inning with a walk and a stolen base. You've got a runner on second with no outs. Suzuki gets out there. But then Alex Bregman, because PCA is on third, everyone's coming in. And he just hits this little, right in the gap. The center fielder from the Reds nearly catches it. It was a really nice attempted play on his behalf, but just pops out of his glove, turns into an RBI double hustle from Alex Bregman. Nice to see again. And it ends up being a 1-0 lead for the Cubs right out the gate because of some luck for Bregman. But when you're going bad, you don't get that luck. And then when you're going good, it seems like you absolutely do. At the top of the 7th, you've got an infield single that brings Alex Bregman up with runners on. With 2 guys on base, he hits the 3-run home run that made it 8-4 Cubs, the ultimate difference in this game today. So really, really encouraging. And now I think the biggest hope for all of us as Cubs fans and for Alex Bregman himself, I'm sure as well, is that whatever has started to click and feel better in these last 2 series translates immediately coming out of the All-Star break, and that this can just be a sign of things to come, that his bat can get going. I do hope this continues where it's that top 3 is as it was today with PCA, Suzuki, and Bregman. You never know about being comfortable and if that matters or not. If being in that 3 spot, look, if you can find all this, where certain guys, they just hit better in certain parts of the lineup. And I'll look up Alex Bregman's, but maybe he just feels more comfortable in the 3 spot. Maybe it's as simple as that all of a sudden. It's you get right mentally, now you're in a spot, you're comfortable in the lineup, and you get rolling and just hopefully it just keeps going at this point for him because it's a total game changer. As the Cubs now, because the Pirates smoked the Brewers with Mizorowski being out and missing his start today, the Cubs are now 5 games back of the Brewers. It feels like a lot, but it's not impossible for the Cubs to go out there and chase down this division still and winning this game today. Maybe that's the baby step in that direction as well. Plus, just kind of locking in your spot in the wild card, in that top wild card spot. So at worst case, you're hosting a wild card series just like the Cubs did last year. Let's rolling right here to our X Factor of today's game.
It's time to reveal who made the biggest under-the-radar impact with today's X Factor.
I think it's PCA, the X Factor of today's game, really because of what happens around Alex Bregman. But you go back to that top of the first inning, he draws a walk, which he's just continuing to do on a regular basis right now. He's not chasing anything. That continues to hold very strong. Another day with 2 walks for him. He steals second base, has the pressure there when he's on third that allows the Bregman play to drop. Because if it's not PCA there, and the Reds are just aligned normally, which is an aggressive move, honestly, in the top of the first inning from Terry Francona to even have the guys in there. If they're in normal position, it's right there where they might catch the ball and just Bregman's out, and you never know what happens after that in the moment. Yes, Michael Busch came up later in that inning, but it wouldn't have got to him at that point. And then also with PCA too, like you look at what happened, later in the game when the game is tied at 4 apiece. Oh no, sorry, it's 4 apiece, top of the 7th. PCA comes up, gets the RBI single to make it 5-4 Cubs, and that gave the Cubs the lead there. So it's the little things in this game from PCA that are the reason why the Cubs, I think, won this game today. We'll talk about Matthew Boyd. I see someone here in the chat say Alcantara. Okay, here's why I can't give it to him. Because fair question or fair idea of giving him the X factor of the game today. It went off the bag. Like, it's a 2 RBI single, but like it goes off the bag. Like, he's out if it looks like if it doesn't hit the bag there. So I can't give the guy that, but like happy birthday to him getting the big hit. I wish we'd see more of him. Like, it's my only beef right now really with Craig Counsell is like I wish we could see a little bit more. I do think it's a reflection of what they think of him and why I don't personally expect him to be a member of the Cubs organization on August 4th. Because they don't want to play him in any of these situations. Like when you're facing lefties, barely has played at all on this road trip. Either is Pedro Ramirez, but it just feels a little bit different because the guys in the infield, they play every day. We're going to see some shuffling in the outfield, specifically in right field with Suzuki, Conforto, and it could have been Alcantara as well. But they really just don't use him a lot. Like, I just don't think there's a lot of belief in him, honestly. But he goes 1 for 2 on the day, gets the 2 RBIs there. Was a big hit, yes, but just can't give him the X factor of the game today just because had a little luck involved in this one. We'll take a break. We'll talk about what we saw from Matthew Boyd. Pretty good outside of 1 bad inning. The bullpen, a little stressful there again from Thielbar at the end, but Jacob Webb comes in, locks it down, and we'll give out a grade for the Cubs pre-All-Star break part of the season, plus your questions and comments. We'll do that next year on the Locked on Cubs postcast. Thanks to our friends at Amazon for this limited break. This back to school season, spend less on your kids with Amazon. We all know how crazy the back to school shopping experience can be. It starts with a few items on the list, and suddenly you're shopping for supplies, clothes, lunch gear, tech, and about 10 other things you didn't see coming. It just adds up fast. We're looking at a countdown here for us in this household. We got a month, basically. August 13th, little guy goes back to school, goes to kindergarten for the first time this year. Well, I guess the only time, I hope. But we got stuff to get, and we've got some clothes from Amazon. We've got some of the school supplies, but we still are kind of building out that list. And it's nice to see the discounts, to know that you're going to get it reliably. You're going to get it quick from Amazon. But even if it's last minute, if it's late at night, the day before school starts, you know that you can go to Amazon. You can get that notebook, those folders, those markers. You can order them and have it delivered by the next day. So maybe it's not there the first day of school because you waited, but you can get it for the second day of school as well. Being a Prime Deliver feature, that means I'm convinced Prime Delivers tomorrow before 7 a.m. feature was created exclusively for parents at that moment. Look, we all need school supplies at the last second as well. So remember, with Amazon's low back to school prices, just spend less on your kids because every dollar you don't spend on them is a dollar you haven't spent on them. Shop back to school at Amazon and save more on your kids. All right, let's talk about Matthew Boyd here and what we saw from him in this game. Honestly, pretty good outing. They dropped that little nugget on there. First out a Cubs starter has gotten since June 29th in the 7th inning. Brutal. That's unreal. But that's also like brutal for what the game of baseball is these days. You guys just don't see any length from anybody at this point. I wish that would change. I wish we saw starters going deep into games. Unfortunately, that's just not the reality of it. He goes out there, gets one out, gets taken out for Gavin Hollowell, who is pretty good himself, an inning, 2/3, 3 strikeouts. I actually think he looked pretty nasty. That's probably his best performance, honestly, as a member of the Cubs. But Boyd goes 6 1/3, 6 hits, 4 runs, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. Again, really outside of the 1 inning, he was excellent in this game. It's only there when it becomes a 4-4 game or 4-2 game in the bottom of the third. It's 2nd and 3rd with 1 out, gives up a ground out, which gets a 2nd out of the inning, but it makes it 2-1 in favor of the Cubs still. JJ Bleday hits the RBI single, making it 2-2, and then Suarez hits the 2-run home run to make it 4-2. But outside of that, he wasn't really in danger anywhere. Like almost all of his hits he gave up in this game were there in the bottom of the third inning. So this is a very excellent start, I would still say, for Matthew Boyd. Like, does it, fall into the definition of a quality start? I guess not. But what you've seen from him his last two starts, also highly, highly encouraging. Just to see like his, hopefully like it can be close to what is the best way I can put it. Hopefully be close to what is last year pre All-Star break. Like that still feels like kind of an out of body experience for Matthew Boyd with how good he was. But anything like this, with what you've also gotten from Shota Imanaga recently, and what you're hopefully going to get from a deadline acquisition, can add to this rotation so that at some point this season, you can be looking at this roster and being like, okay, they've figured it out pitching wise. That with all these injuries, the guys who you're supposed to rely on Boyd and Imanaga are solid. And then you can, hopefully Hoyer can add to the rotation. But this was a good start from Boyd. And this is why, like, you see the veteran approach of totally falling apart and then comes out in the next inning and gets out of it very quickly. Like, it is a phenomenal start from him outside of one inning. So kudos to Matthew Boyd. Very, very positive from him today. Again, Hollowell, very good in his inning and 2/3. Caleb Thielbar, not so much. Like, it's one where I don't think, Craig Counsell wanted to use any of his leverage guys. Also, it's a 4-run lead. Like, you kind of have to be able to get through that. It was good yesterday, but just not able to make it easy in this one. So Jacob Webb has to come and get the final 2 outs of the innings to secure the Cubs the victory 8-4 today. A couple other guys mentioned, briefly, Michael Busch, another 2-hit game from him. He looks like he's also really turned a corner again. So kind of also, unfortunately, just like Alex Bregman, All-Star break, probably hitting at the worst possible moment for those two guys. It's just, you're looking for Nico it really feels like he's the guy to me. Like, now it's like, okay, when can he really start getting rolling as well? Happ, I don't have hope for that because we know what Ian Happ is. He's the hottest and coldest hitter on the Cubs. Just depends on what 2-week stretch you are in at this point of what he's going to look like for the Cubs. So the question I have, and that's going to get to what you're talking about after this game, is what grade would you give the Cubs before the All-Star break portion of the season?
This is what you'll be talking about.
So I think this is an interesting question of just like, what grade will we give the Cubs at this point in the season? Because this is a team that's on a 90-win pace. You're feeling good going to the All-Star break. You win your last series. You're getting good momentum from your pitching, from Matthew Boyd. Alex Bregman's turning a corner. Michael Busch is turning a corner. So it's like, in the moment, we can probably juice it up a little bit because we're just feeling better today than we were, even just like on Friday night, right? But then I think about this season, and like, I'm like, what grade? It was a fair grade to give the Cubs this point. And I'll be honest, and I think people are going to push back against this, and I understand. I think the answer is A. Like, I think they still deserve an A. They're on a 90-win pace. I predicted them before the season at 93 wins. I thought they were going to win the division with 93. Didn't believe in the Brewers. Wrong. But I had at 93. They're at a 90-win pace right now. Yes, they've had a 10-game losing streak, but they've had 10 walk-offs this year. They've had 2 10-game win streaks, and they've had so many injuries it's laughable. Like, you're hoping Palencia is going to come back here quickly. It feels like right now, best case scenario for the Cubs bullpen is that deadline acquisition, yes, but also that maybe Justin Steele and Ben Brown will end up being contributors to your bullpen this year. Steele's definitely not starting. And I just guessing with Ben Brown, not knowing anything definitively, I think he's also going to be a bullpen arm for you this season. All those injuries in your rotation, like as we sit here at the All-Star break, Boyd and Imanaga, the only guys left in your rotation from what you started the season with. No Cade Horton. Tyon will be back after the break. Great. Like, that's sarcasm. But hopefully he can stop giving up home runs a little bit. It's been a strange year. Like, it has been a strange year so far for the Cubs, but I think you have to give them an A. Like, I don't know. I see Jerry says here in the chat, I don't know what we are. I don't know either, Jerry. I have no idea what this Cubs team is, because it does feel like they can be very, very good, but there's also so many injuries that it could also still derail you. Jerry also says it's probably an A, but it feels like a C. Yeah, Like it does. Like it feels like a C, but this team, all the injuries, everything, the bad play from Bregman, the bad play from Nico, Michael Bush being mid, nicest to put it, most of the season because the highs haven't even been that high. Let's see. Darren says B, can't control injuries, but man, those slumps, totally fair. Alan says B plus. Larry says give him the B plus, but give Counsell an A for the way he's navigated the pitching injuries. Yeah, I'm with you on that specifically. I think that like Craig Counsell's gotten a lot of grief, and I think sometimes rightfully so. He's a manager of the baseball team that we love. We're going to give him grief, but he's handled it very, very well. BZ Man says B plus, A minus. Yeah, I think it's right there. Like maybe A minus is probably the right grade there instead of a full out A for me. But good positive note for the Cubs to end on, specifically because of Alex Bregman and the way that this series ended back-to-back days with massive home runs to help secure the Cubs. These victories secure this series, and they've just been playing much, much better baseball as of late. That'll do it for us today. Thank you guys for watching and listening. As always, Matt and Sam will have their show coming up here in just a little bit later on today. I'll be off with the Cubs for the next couple days for the All-Star break, so enjoy the break. I'll hang out with you guys on Friday night. Thank you, as always, for watching and listening. Appreciate you guys for a fun first part of the 2026 season. Talk to you on Friday night as we start part 2.